Let me open with a truth that might make you uncomfortable, and that's exactly the point. Time does not negotiate. Time does not pause because you're tired. Time does not slow down because you're confused. Every single second, time is moving forward with or without your permission. And the question is not, is time fair? The real question is, are you using it or is it using you? Because while you're sitting in comfort, time is silently collecting the cost. See, comfort is attractive because it feels safe. Comfort whispers, you deserve rest. Comfort says, start tomorrow. Well, what comfort doesn't tell you is this: comfort today becomes regret tomorrow. Time doesn't care that you were comfortable. Time only responds to action. And if you don't intentionally decide how your time is spent, life will decide for you. And life is not generous to the undecided. Here's the hook you need to hear. Your future is being built by what you repeatedly do when nobody is watching. Not on your best days, on your most comfortable ones. Time rewards discipline, not intention. You can intend to change your life for 10 years, but time only pays the person who executes. Dreams without deadlines are just wishes dressed up to look productive. Understand this principle. Comfort is expensive. It costs you opportunities. It costs you growth. It costs you potential. While you're waiting to feel ready, someone else is moving while scared, tired, and uncertain. And time is backing them, not you. Time doesn't ask how you feel. It only measures what you did. And let me say this clearly. Time is neutral, but the results are not. If you invest your time, it compounds. If you waste your time, the loss compounds too. That's why people wake up one day and say, where did the years go? They didn't disappear. They were traded for comfort. Time does not respond to how you feel. It responds to what you do. And that truth alone separates the successful from the stuck. You can feel inspired. You can feel tired. You can feel overwhelmed. You can feel ready or unready. It makes no difference to time. Time does not slow down because your emotions are heavy, and it does not speed up because your motivation is high. Time only moves in one direction and only records one thing: action. Here's the uncomfortable hook most people avoid. Your emotions do not move the clock, your habits do. You don't get rewarded for wanting change, you get rewarded for executing change. Most people are emotionally busy but behaviorally broke. They feel like they're working because they're thinking, planning, worrying, and talking, but time doesn't recognize mental activity as progress. Time only recognizes motion. That's why two people can have the same dream, the same resources, and the same starting point, yet end up in completely different places. One allowed emotions to decide when to act. The other allowed discipline to decide. Time partnered with the disciplined one and ignored the emotional one. Here's the hard truth. Emotions are temporary, but the cost of inaction is permanent. You don't lose success in one dramatic moment. You lose it in small emotional decisions that feel justified at the time. I'm tired today. I'll start tomorrow. I don't feel ready yet. Each excuse sounds reasonable, but time treats every excuse the same way. It moves forward without you. And while you're negotiating with your feelings, someone else is building momentum. Time always sides with momentum. Let me give you a mental shift that changes everything. Success is not personal, it's procedural. Time doesn't care who you are, where you came from, or how unfair life has been to you. Time only responds to system, structure, and repetition. That's why consistency beats intensity every single time. You don't need to feel motivated to win, you need to be committed. Motivation is emotional, commitment is mechanical. And time only respects what's mechanical. Most people wait to feel good before they CT, but high performers act until they feel good. That's the difference. Action creates clarity. Action creates confidence. Action creates results. Not thinking, not waiting, not hoping. If emotions were enough, everyone who felt inspired would be successful. But inspiration without execution is entertainment, not transformation. Here's another hook you need to hear clearly. Time doesn't punish laziness, it simply ignores potential. You don't get penalized for wasting time, you just don't get rewarded. And that's worse, because penalties teach lessons, but silence creates regret. One day you look back and realize time gave you the same 24 hours it gave everyone else, and the difference wasn't talent, luck, or intelligence. The difference was action taken regardless of emotion. When you stop allowing feelings to dictate your behavior, your life changes speed. You start doing what needs to be done, even when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, or boring. And that's when time starts working for you instead of against you. Because time doesn't care if you're scared. Time doesn't care if you're unsure. Time doesn't care if you're uncomfortable. Time only asks one question every day. Did you move or did you hesitate? And it rewards the answer, not the excuse. Comfort is dangerous not because it feels bad, but because it feels good while it quietly takes everything from you. That's the hook most people miss. Comfort doesn't attack your life aggressively. It slowly sedates your ambition. It tells you that you've done enough for today, that you deserve ease, that there's no rush. And while you're relaxed, time is withdrawing value from your future. Comfort is a thief that never announces itself. And that's why so many people don't realize they've been robbed until years are gone. Here's the reality. Comfort never steals today, it steals tomorrow. 1 hour of unnecessary rest turns into 1 day of delay. 1 day of delay turns into 1 year of stagnation. Comfort works in small doses, because if it showed you the full price up front, you'd reject it immediately. Nobody chooses regret on purpose. They choose comfort repeatedly, and regret shows up later to collect the bill. That's the trap. Comfort convinces you that staying the same is safe, but staying the same is the riskiest decision you can make. The world is moving whether you move or not. Skills are expiring. Opportunities are shifting. Standards are rising. Comfort freezes you in a world that refuses to stop changing. And when you stay still too long, you don't just fall behind, you become irrelevant. Time doesn't wait for people who choose ease over growth. Here's a hook you need to hear clearly. Comfort feels like rest, but most of the time it's avoidance in disguise. It's not that you're tired, it's that you're avoiding discomfort. It's not that you need a break, it's that the work is challenging your identity. Growth threatens the version of you that feels familiar. So comfort steps in to protect the old you, even if it destroys the future you. Comfort also lies about effort. It tells you that working hard means suffering, that discipline means losing freedom. In reality, comfort steals freedom by making you dependent on circumstances. Discipline creates freedom by making you capable. Every skill you avoid learning, every habit you avoid building, every challenge you avoid facing gives comfort more control over your life. And the more control comfort has, the smaller your world becomes. Another hard truth, comfort never feels urgent, but its consequences are permanent. You don't feel the damage today. You feel it years later when confidence is low, options are limited, and opportunities require skills you never built. Comfort delays pain, but it multiplies it. Discipline causes pain now, but it eliminates pain later. Time doesn't care which one you choose. It just enforces the outcome. Look closely at successful people, and you'll notice a pattern. They don't live extreme lives, they live intentional ones. They are not obsessed with comfort, they are committed to progress. They understand that comfort is a reward, not a lifestyle. Rest is earned after effort, not used as an excuse to avoid it. The moment comfort becomes the goal, growth stops. Here's the final hook embedded in the truth itself. Comfort is not neutral. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you are actively choosing a smaller future. And time keeps perfect records. It doesn't argue, it doesn't warn, it doesn't remind, you feel it later. Comfort smiles while it steals, and by the time you notice what's missing, time has already moved on. Every time you delay, you are making a decision. And that decision is not neutral. It is a choice to give your future away. Delay is not a temporary pause. Delay is a direction. When you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you are not postponing action. You are choosing to stay where you are. Time doesn't care about your reasons. It only cares about your results. The hook you must understand is this. Delay is not waiting. Delay is losing. People think that delaying is harmless because it feels like just 1 day. But time does not reward the 1 day delay. Time compounds it. When you delay once, you strengthen a pattern. When you strengthen a pattern, you create a habit. And habits are the real architects of your destiny. The problem is that delay doesn't feel like a habit when you are in it. It feels like a choice, a one-time event. But the truth is, it becomes your identity. The person who always delays becomes the person who never starts. Here's the hard truth. You don't delay because you lack time. You delay because you lack clarity, discipline, or confidence. Time is not the issue. Your mindset is. The moment you begin to accept delay as normal, you start to accept a lower standard for your life. Delay becomes your comfort zone. And the longer you stay in that comfort zone, the harder it becomes to escape. That's why people who procrastinate often feel trapped, not because they are busy, but because they have allowed delay to become a lifestyle. Another hook you need to hear. Delay is a decision to live below your potential. Every time you delay, you are telling yourself that your dreams are not worth the discomfort of starting. But the discomfort of starting is always less than the pain of regret. Delay gives you temporary relief, but it steals your future. You may feel better today, but you will feel worse tomorrow. Time doesn't punish you today, it punishes you later when the opportunity is gone, when the competition is ahead, when the door is closed. Delay also destroys momentum. Momentum is the invisible force that turns effort into results. When you start moving, you create energy, you build confidence, you attract opportunities. But when you delay, momentum dies. You don't just lose a day, you lose the spark that could have turned your entire life around. People don't understand how powerful momentum is until they lose it. The difference between a successful person and an average person is not talent, it's momentum. And delay is the thief that steals momentum. Let me tell you something else that most people ignore. Delay is contagious. If you delay one task, you become more likely to delay the next. It's like a domino effect. The more you delay, the more your self-respect decreases. And the lower your self-respect, the easier it is to delay again. It's a vicious cycle. And time doesn't care if you are stuck in that cycle. It just keeps moving. Here's the final hook. Time doesn't reward good intentions. Time rewards execution. The person who takes imperfect action today will always outperform the person who waits for perfect conditions, because perfect conditions rarely exist. The only conditions you ever truly control are the ones inside you. You can control your effort, your discipline, and your decision to start. When you delay, you give away control, and time doesn't give it back. So if you want different results, you must change your relationship with delay. You must stop treating delay as a small mistake and start treating it as a decision with consequences. Because the truth is this: delay is not just a habit, it's a lifestyle. And time does not negotiate with lifestyles. It only delivers outcome. Desire is easy. Wanting success is simple. But discipline is the hard work that most people refuse to pay for. That's why desire is common and success is rare. The hook is this: desire is the spark, discipline is the engine. If you only have the spark, you will burn bright for a moment and then disappear. But if you build an engine, you will keep moving even when the spark fades. Time does not reward desire. Time rewards the person who consistently shows up and does what needs to be done, even when they don't feel like it. Here's the reality. Desire without discipline is like a car without fuel. You can look at the destination all day, but you will never arrive. People talk about motivation like it's a magic force that will carry them through. But motivation is unreliable because it is emotional. It rises and falls based on your mood, your energy, and your circumstances. Discipline, on the other hand, is a choice you make regardless of your feelings. Discipline is not about how you feel, it's about what you do. And time respects what you do more than what you feel. The biggest lie people tell themselves is that they are waiting for motivation. They say, when I feel ready, I'll start. But here's the hook you need to hear. Motivation does not come before action. It comes after action. Motivation is a result of progress, not a prerequisite. When you begin even imperfectly, your brain rewards you with momentum, and that creates motivation. That's why successful people don't wait for motivation. They create it through disciplined action. Discipline is not a personality trait. It is a skill. And like any skill, it is built through repetition. Every time you choose discipline over desire, you strengthen your ability to do it again. It becomes easier. It becomes automatic. The more disciplined you become, the less you rely on feelings. And that's when you start winning in a way that feels effortless to others. But it was not effortless. It was discipline. Here's another hook. Discipline does not restrict your freedom. It expands it. When you are disciplined, you are not controlled by your impulses. You are not controlled by cravings, distractions, or temporary pleasures. You become the master of your life. Discipline creates structure, and structure creates power. The more structure you build, the more you can accomplish. And time rewards structure because structure produces consistent results. The problem is that discipline is uncomfortable. It requires sacrifice. It requires doing what is necessary, not what is easy. And most people are addicted to comfort. They want success, but they want it to come without effort. They want the reward without the process. But time does not work that way. Time rewards the process. It rewards the daily grind. It rewards the person who is willing to pay the price before they get the prize. Here's the hard truth. If you want different results, you must become different. Not in your thoughts, but in your habits. Your future is not shaped by your desire, but by your daily actions. You cannot out-desire your discipline. You can want success all day, but if you don't build the discipline to show up consistently, time will move past you. And when it does, it will not ask if you wanted it. It will only show you what you earned. So the real question is not whether you want success. The real question is whether you are willing to be disciplined enough to earn it. Because time respects discipline, not excuses. And the person who chooses discipline today will be the one-time rewards tomorrow. The life you want is not built in the moments you feel comfortable. It is built in the moments you choose to do what most people avoid. Growth is uncomfortable by nature. It stretches you, challenges you, and forces you to confront your weaknesses. That's why most people never grow. They never step outside their comfort zone. The hook is this: if you want a future that looks different from your past, you must be willing to live in discomfort today. Comfort is not a sign of peace. It is often a sign of stagnation. Most people think comfort is a reward. They believe that if they just relax, they will eventually become successful. But the truth is, comfort is not a destination. Comfort is a trap. When you choose comfort over growth, you are choosing to remain average. You are choosing to let your potential die quietly. The world is not built for your comfort. The world is built for your contribution. And contribution requires effort, discipline, and sacrifice. If you want your life to change, you must change what you are willing to tolerate. Here's the hook you need to hear. Your comfort zone is not where your dreams live. Your dreams live on the other side of fear, on the other side of effort, on the other side of discipline. Every successful person you admire has faced the same fear you are facing now. The difference is they did not let fear stop them. They let fear motivate them. They understood that fear is a sign that you are approaching something valuable. If you are not uncomfortable, you are not growing. And if you are not growing, you are dying slowly. Discomfort is the price of progress. It is the signal that you are pushing your limits. The problem is that most people confuse discomfort with danger. They treat any feeling of unease as a warning sign, but discomfort is not danger. Discomfort is a sign that you are moving in the right direction. When you feel uncomfortable, it means you are challenging your old identity and building a new one. That is how change happens. It does not happen in comfort. It happens when you are willing to be uncomfortable for a purpose. Here's another hook. Comfort makes you a spectator in your own life. You watch other people achieve, you watch other people build, you watch other people grow, and you tell yourself you will do it one day. But one day rarely comes. The truth is that comfort is a slow form of self-sabotage. It convinces you that waiting is safe, but waiting is not safe. Waiting is a silent killer of dreams. The longer you wait, the more time passes, and the harder it becomes to catch up. The life you want requires daily sacrifice. It requires consistent effort. It requires doing things you don't feel like doing. It requires showing up even when you are tired. It requires pushing through when the results are not immediate. That is what separates the successful from the average. The successful understand that the moment they feel uncomfortable is the moment they should double down. They don't run from the discomfort, they run through it. They know that discomfort is temporary, but regret lasts forever. So if you want a different life, you must be willing to live in discomfort for a season. You must be willing to trade short-term ease for long-term gain. You must be willing to do the work even when it doesn't feel good, because your future is not built in your comfort zone. It is built in your willingness to embrace discomfort and keep moving forward. And the moment you choose discomfort over comfort, you will begin to see time start to work in your favor. Time does not just pass, it multiplies, it compounds. And what you feed time is what time grows. That is the hook you need to understand. Time doesn't care about your intentions, your feelings, or your excuses. It cares about your inputs. If you feed time with discipline, consistency, and action, time will compound your progress into results. But if you feed time with excuses, distractions, and procrastination, time will compound your losses into regret. Time is neutral, but the results, it pro. Deuces are not, here's the truth that most people miss. Small actions done consistently are more powerful than big actions done once. Success is not built in grand moments, it is built in repeated moments. The person who wins is not the one who works harder once, it is the one who works steadily over time. The compound effect is the secret weapon of high achievers. It is the reason why ordinary people can become extraordinary, not overnight, but over time. And it is the reason why talented people fail, because they don't apply consistency. The hook is this: time doesn't care if you start big or small. Time only cares that you start. The smallest step taken daily becomes a giant leap over time. Imagine what happens when you improve by just one every day. It doesn't sound like much, but over a year, that one becomes massive. That's the power of compounding. The same principle works in the negative direction too. If you allow yourself to decline by one daily, if you allow distractions, bad habits, and laziness to creep in, over time, your life will deteriorate. Time multiplies whatever you feed it. Whether positive or negative, people often underestimate the power of small, consistent actions because they want instant results. They want a dramatic transformation overnight. But time doesn't operate on your timetable. Time operates on the principle of accumulation. That's why the most successful people are not necessarily the most talented, they're the most consistent. They show up day after day, even when they don't feel like it. They understand that results are not immediate, but they are inevitable when you keep moving. Another hook you must hear: the life you want is not built in a single breakthrough, it is built in daily breakthroughs. Each day you choose to work, you are depositing into your future. Each day you choose to quit, you are withdrawing from your future. Time keeps the balance sheet, and it never forgets. You may not see the results immediately, but time is always calculating. It is always compounding. It is always working, whether you are working with it or against it. The problem is that most people feed time with inconsistency. They start strong, then they fade. They work hard for a week, then they relax for a month. They get motivated, then they lose motivation. They think time will still reward them even with irregular effort. But time does not reward inconsistency. Time rewards repetition. Time rewards routine. Time rewards the person who builds habits that support their goals. Here's the final hook. Time does not forgive wasted days. It does not give you a second chance to reclaim the hours you lost. Every day is a deposit or a withdrawal, and the only way to ensure your life improves is to feed time with actions that matter. The more you do that, the more time compounds your progress, and the more time compounds your progress, the more unstoppable you become. So if you want a powerful life, you must become intentional about what you feed time. Feed it with discipline, feed it with consistency, feed it with action, and time will reward you beyond what you can imagine. Because time does not just pass, it compounds what you give it. So here's the closing challenge. Stop asking for more time and start demanding more from yourself. Get uncomfortable on purpose. Move when it's hard. Act when it's inconvenient. Because one day time will ask for the receipt, and comfort is not a valid excuse. Remember this, time doesn't care about your comfort, but it will always reward your courage. The clock is ticking. The only question left is, what are you doing with now?